shooting in any place that is inhospitable to a certain degree is always a challenge. जो अपनी आँखों में हैरानियाँ लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो, दिलों में तुम अपनी बेताबियाँ लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो.
Hello and welcome to NDTV. I'm Aditya Kaul, and on this special broadcast, we spotlight a story of extraordinary courage brought to life in the film 120 Bahadur. Set against the backdrop of the 1962 Sino-Indian War, the film revisits the legendary Battle of Rezang, where 120 Ahir soldiers of the Charlie Company, 13 Kumaon Regiment, held their ground against a massive 3,000-strong Chinese force. Outnumbered but unshaken, they fought with unmatched grit and valor, inflicting over 1,300 enemy casualties, creating one of the most heroic last stands in the India's military history. Now, joining us to talk about the powerful retelling are actor and producer Farhan Akhtar, producer Ritesh Sidwani, and director Rajnish Gai, the incredible powerhouse team that has taken on the responsibility of bringing these unsung heroes to the screen. And now, join us to in fact tell you what this valor has been all about and why the story was completely hidden from majority of the Indians and they don't know really about it. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us here on the NDTV studio. Farhan, starting with you, we have seen a lot of films around valor, around wars, around patriotism. But this particular film on the Battle of Rezang is something different. It is about a story untold. It is about a story that hasn't really been historically recorded as much as other battles. So when you first heard about this film, what was going through your mind and why did you choose to do it?
Thanks, Aditya. Firstly, thank you for having us. Yeah, it's really a landmark battle that was fought in 1962. It's widely considered that the India-China war was a war that India did not win. But this battle is something that really was a silver lining in that entire event that had taken place. As you mentioned, 120 soldiers led by one officer, really held off a post overnight, holding off 3,000 enemy soldiers. So when Rezi brought the story to me, Rezi will of course speak about his experience on it and why he made it. But I was very taken in by just having heard the name before, but not really knowing what the true story behind it was. And it took me to a time, I remember when I had met Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra on the Milkha film.
Right.
So these are names that you hear when you're growing up as legend names, but very few of us stop to take time to figure out what the story behind that legend really is. So for me, it was an education first to find out what had happened on the 18th of November 1962. And then just to get an opportunity to play the role of Shaitan Singh Ji, to help bring this story to millions of 1 billion Indians, is something that I feel very grateful for that Rezi reached out to me. It's just, a story of patriotism, a story of selflessness, of course of courage, of valor, but honestly in terms of committing to a cause and putting country before you, or putting something that is way bigger than you individually, before you, even if it comes down to losing your life, is something that all of us can be we can take something from.
Well, that's right. Rezi, coming to you, I have visited Rezang last year, and ahead of Chushul, when I was driving there, it is back or beyond. People usually go up till Pangong Lake or around that area, but do not venture to Chushul. So normally when such films are made, people consult veterans, people consult historians. But in this particular case, not much has been written about, what really happened. And I remember watching that small clip inside Rezang in the voice of Amitabh Bachchan. So this would have been challenging for you. How did you research this and how did you come up with this idea?
It's really interesting. So when we were growing up, I'll tell you a small story. As army kids, in a small, quaint little town called Wellington. And, so all of us kids used to get together to play football. And there was this talk of, we lost the war to, China. But there was this one battle which stood out. And my father used to tell me the story very vaguely. It's only when I grew up, my brother told me the story in detail. And I found out what happened in the Battle of Rezang. And I was flabbergasted. and I had become a filmmaker by then. I was an ad filmmaker. And I told myself, I have to make this film, And that's when I started doing my research, and I reached out to the surviving members of the battle. So my research started from there, and from there I went to all the generals, the commanding officer of 13 Kumaon, and so forth. And there was very little, and there are war files that exist, but they're never given to the public.
Right.
They exist only with the army.
Yeah.
But I got my hands on some cool stuff, and that's how my research started. So it was about 3 years of research and another 2 years of trying to make this film. Right. And here we are. Thanks to these two gentlemen, it's possible.
And sometimes lucky to be army kids. Huh?
Yeah.
But Ritesh, coming to you, I remember we met during Ground Zero, and what an incredible film that was, an original story of Ghazi Baba, etc., what had happened, and now to this, 120 Bahadur. And you are known, Excel Entertainment is known for, bringing out original films from Dil Chahta Hai to 120 Bahadur. So what goes through your mind? What is the inclination? What is the push? Or what is the, like a guiding energy for you when you choose such films?
I think Farhan and me have been, I can say we're only grateful and glad that these stories have come to us.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that Rucha, who was one of the
Yes.
co-producers, had met Rezi, and she brought this to us, and she said, listen, you guys, this is a story you all have to read. Yeah. I had not even met Rezi that time.
So
I think
Rucha was instrumental in making this happen, because I had reached out to her, and and she loved the story, and,
right.
and she was heading their creative department, and that's when she got all the creative guys in one room, and me and my writer Rajiv G Menon, we narrated the whole story, and they were blown.
And like you said, right, in terms of, this is a story which has just been lying there for maybe in a way it's great that we got an opportunity to tell this story, right? It's being there, and usually when you come across as filmmakers, as storytellers, you'll write something. Often you'll see, movies, and you'll say, "Aise thodi na hota hai." It's not possible. But here, these guys were superheroes. They're actually superheroes. You don't need to write. Everything was there, and it's a fact. So I think it's very important that this story had to come out there, and it's taken almost 60 years. But we're very fortunate it's out there for people to realize what these 120 Bahadur actually went through.
Well, I'm sure that people will be, inspired by watching this film, as earlier Lakshya had inspired people to join the army, and this could do the same. But Farhan, coming to you again, you shot this film in Ladakh and Rajasthan as well. There have been challenging roles that you've done. One that I remember is Bagh Milkha Singh that you just mentioned. But how challenging was this particular role? Because this is about 1962 and another era. We are talking about a place when there was no technology as such as today. There was no social media. And it was a completely different time. I remember when I was speaking to soldiers in Siachen, they said 40 years ago, there was nothing here. Even the clothing that we get was just the normal, warm clothes that we wear. So how challenging was that? And also in Ladakh, I've gone there more than a dozen times. The altitude becomes a problem. Sometimes there's blood coming from your nose, you are not able to breathe, etc. So was it a challenging role to really absorb what really happened and then shoot it, at least in parts, in Ladakh?
Shooting in any place that is inhospitable to a certain degree is always a challenge.
Yeah.
Ladakh, of course, so we were shooting at about 14,000 feet is where we shot. The weather was extremely hot at times and extremely cold at times. We experienced dust storms like I've never seen before in Ladakh, and I've been there many times myself. So all in all, for the crew, for the cast, it was a challenge. But I genuinely feel that with certain films, there is an X factor, a power, I don't know what you want to call it, that really galvanizes a team. When it comes to subjects like this, something else is carrying you. You don't wake up in the morning thinking about, is it going to be a difficult day? You wake up with like a spring in your step, knowing that there's a purpose that you're making this film for. So, that drives you. And whatever comes with it, you just accept it as a part of the journey and as a part of the process. But of course, Ladakh, like you're saying, you've been there, does pose its set of challenges. And we went there early enough. I was there 10 days prior to filming beginning to really acclimatize myself, rehearse, choreographed action while I was there, because we shot everything on location. We did not want to get into green screen studios, get a really visceral feel of what the place is like, of what people go through, because it shows in your body language with the actors that are performing, having to really, really push themselves. because that's what the 120 soldiers went through. You know, they were farm boys who were taken from the fields of like Haryana and Rajasthan and like Western UP,
Right.
And taken and planted in like 14,000 feet, 16,000 feet and having to fight.
Yes. Yes.
So to see that struggle, to see that breathlessness is all a part of the performance. But you don't want to have to fake that when you can actually just be there and really, really do it.
That's right. You know, Rezi, you spoke about you being an army kid. Is there an extra motivation also that you want to narrate such stories? Because you often see in your surrounding, in your family, that there's so much happening and people don't know about it. And, you know, I don't know if I should mention that you have a connection with a senior officer. I shouldn't probably name him right now, but he has done something incredible in the last 6 months, and I salute him. I've known him for the last few years, and the kind of work and energy and ethics that he brings in is incredible. So, was your brother also motivation for this?
I mean, the reason I'm making this film is because of him, because he told me the story,
Right.
you know, in detail, and I'm very thankful to him for inspiring me to make this movie. Now, you guys were talking about logistics. Imagine this. 600 people going to a location in the middle of nowhere in Ladakh at 14,000 feet.
Yeah.
Imagine the logistics of that, feeding them, taking them there. But our EP, Sunita Ram, she did a fabulous job. She was fantastic there. Yeah, my brother, yes. Can't take his name, but yeah, he's a father figure to me.
All right. No, he's a father figure for the forces also, and might I say, the Operation Sindoor is all thanks to him. But, you know, Ritesh, coming to you, you know, there is a thin line between patriotism and melodrama. And often, in the last few years, we've seen so many films on patriotism. You know, I would remember that starting with Uri, which did a massive success in this entire matter. So how do you know, balance it out, that it doesn't become a little extra jingoistic and actually conveys the film in the most raw manner?
Actually, fortunately, when you're talking of a true story and when the research is so in-depth, like what he had done, like, you know, now he comes from the army background. So when we had everything in front of us, there was really not much to try to do. Everything was there. Like, you look at most events on the film, and I can tell you that you go back and research it, or even on Google, you'll find most of it is true. Of course, certain parts are dramatized for that, but nothing to the level to, you know, make it feel that you're just fictionalizing everything. I think most of it is, fortunately, all the material we had was all genuine and true, and there's nothing for us to do any more than that, you know. So I think we've stuck to the story, we've stuck to the research, what he came back with, the writers came back with tonic, you know. So I think there was nothing much to do on that.
Also, one thing that I've been, you know, waiting to ask you is that the OTT has been a disruptor in many ways. And since pandemic, we've seen, you know, direction towards OTT taking center stage, and, you know, people were upset also, people are not going to the theatre. Has that changed really? And with the advent of new technology, artificial intelligence, etc., people rushing towards their mobile screens more than the theatres, how's the film scene changing, and has that an impact on Bollywood? How are you changing filmmaking in that direction?
You know, I think there are two parts to your question. One is the AI part. I don't know whether you need to have so much resistance to it. I think if you use it as a tool,
right.
And it all depends, like we've all understood, you may feed in a certain information, Rezi will feed in something and it'll throw something else at you. It depends on what you feed in. I think you need to start using it. Like earlier people would go to a library to research and look at a physical book. Now you'll go on Google and you started researching. So I think AI needs to be used in a way. I don't think it can replace stuff because it still needs that human interaction. So I think that's there. But in filmmaking, I think the streaming platforms, yes, they came in. They disrupted it during the pandemic. Of course, it helped, and like people were not getting out. But now I think people are back. We've seen this year almost 4 or 5 films where the footfalls have been, really good. So I think it all depends on the film. If it requires a community viewing, people will come in and watch it. And whereas content as filmmakers, I think what streaming has given you an opportunity of telling different stories. The format, the writing has changed. Right. For there, the narrative. The stories go on for multiple. The characters go on. You don't have to be restricted to a 2-hour window. You can tell the story for 4 hours. So I think what it's enabled is it's given a birth to a lot of new talent in front of the camera and behind the camera. So I think it's a different format of storytelling, but theatrical will always stay. The community viewing will always stay. And I think that's a great balance to have.
Staying with community viewing, I have to be a devil's advocate and ask one controversial question, not don't be scared, Rezi. But, there's been news about these protests that are happening on the Ahir, etc. And for the disclaimer, I can tell the people that I have watched the film and I haven't found, anything so controversial, etc. In fact, it gives tribute to that particular community. So what do you want to say to the people who've been protesting or have approached courts?
All I want to say is come to the theatres on 21st of November
yeah.
and see it for yourself.
And they'll be happy and not disappointed.
And they'll be happy and not disappointed.
All right. So Farhan, to you, not this question, but I want to ask you about Major Shaitan Singh.
I just wanted to add to that. Yeah. I just hope that they are as vociferous in their praise for Easy after they see the film as they have been in protest before they've seen it.
Well, I hope so too, yes. And all the best wishes to the team for that. But, on Major Shaitan Singh Bhati, if he would have been alive today, what would you have gone to him and said to him and to the people about him? And also, why do you think this story was so important to be narrated to the people? Because in many ways, as I asked earlier, when I go through the textbooks, when I go through historical records, etc., we speak about the recent times. We speak about Kargil. We speak about what has happened in the last 25 to 30 years. But nobody goes, 60 years or 40 years behind. And a particular battle, why is this so important?
Well, to answer the first part of your question, I mean, if Shaitanji was still alive, I would just go and thank him for his service and what he had done. And then just hear from him again. From his own experience of what it was like. And as far as this film goes, I feel just as a people, it's nice to be reminded about our history. It's nice to be reminded about what it took for us to be where we are today. Because, I mean, eventually the life that we are experiencing is a result of many events that have happened over the years.
Right.
Of course, I mean, people get caught up in their own lives. We are now even more so like living in a world of reels, and really short term, like short memory attention spans.
That's right.
Yeah. So for a generation that is really not probably as interested as looking very, very far back, and maybe rightfully so at times, you want to think about the future. But it's nice to be reminded about something that's happened in your past, something as important as this. Because freedoms, independence, the map of our country, our rights, our culture, things that we take for granted, it's nice to remember that they've all come at a certain cost, and that we need to protect it. We need to always be alert to the fact that it's very easy to lose things if we are not paying attention, if we don't have people who stand up, like how Shaitanji and 120 of them stood up, and of course the whole Indian army at that time. So these kind of things, it's more the subliminal messaging, apart from, of course, the ride of watching something that's so incredibly heroic in its nature to start with. It reminds us that we are all Indian, that we are all together, we all cheer the same causes, So for me, that's why these films are very, very important.
And you recently met Raksha Mantri, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on the day of the special screening, and there was a release of a special stamp. How was that experience?
Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah. Firstly, I want to really thank the Indian Postal Service. I want to thank the people in the Indian Army who supported our request that we should do this. So we've created a stamp, which is a Battle of Rezang, my stamp, with the Ahir Dham that's printed on it. And Rajnath ji was extremely graceful, to take time out at a very, very busy time. As you can imagine, there have been certain events that have happened in Delhi. But to take out a good 10-15 minutes of his day to launch it, because he realized that it's an important day. He was very, very responsible for the renovation of the memorial itself.
That's right.
In 2021. So we realized that it was a memorial and a battle that was close to his heart. So for him to be there was absolutely an honor.
All right. Rezi, as someone who covers national security, as someone who covers, conflicts very closely, I'm all for films, like 120 Bahadur. I'm really eager to see many more such cinematic initiatives being taken. So I have to put you on a spot and ask you that, do you really want to make a film now on Operation Sindoor? Are you really eager to go ahead in that direction?
Well, I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
But if these two gentlemen are on board, then I would do it.
All right, wonderful. And Ritesh, you and Farhan have worked together for years together, as much as I can remember. So what more projects are you working on? Can we see Farhan directing a film very soon?
Yeah, so I think He's starting immediately after this. We've given him no break. Poor guy has been at this.
I love that I'm not involved in this conversation about my time or my career.
So I think what we are getting, which is already announced, he starts filming Dawn from
next year. Yes.
From Jan next year.
Right, wonderful. And you know, Farhan, last two questions. I have to ask you, stepping a little away from this film.
Sure.
You know, Javed Saab has been an iconic figure in India.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to script writing, when it comes to poems, he's a legendary figure.
Yeah.
And he's also very open about his views about issues, particularly about India, Bharat. Yeah. How has he been an inspiring figure in your life while you were growing up? And secondly, on this particular film, he has written some songs. So, a producer and a writer, you know, relationship, how did that shape up?
Actually, we've been working together since Dil Chahta Hai with him writing songs. He wrote Laksh, which I directed, and almost every film since then, whether it's Dawn, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, Rock On, he's written the songs for. So working with him is really, really easy. I mean, of course, he's a treasure trove of talent and of mastery of poetry and of words, but he doesn't really you know, like kind of weigh heavy on you when you're working with him. He really likes to be able to deliver what it is that you want as a director and as a producer or the music composer. So he's very collaborative. And he's been an influence for me from the time that I was a child there. You know, I have to keep reminding myself at times that how fortunate we are that we have this access to him. That we can just pick up the phone and call him and ask him anything that we want.
I mean, I had the good fortune of working with him in close quarters on this one. And I thank him for his inputs. He's been wonderful.
Wonderful. Farhan, if I can just quickly take your minute and ask some questions in a rapid fire format. As a national security editor, I haven't done this. This is my first. So I hope I do it as
please jump
well
in, guys.
as you do.
Ritesh is actually very good at rapid fire.
I need to put you on spot. So one word to define Major Shaitan Singh.
Incredible.
One thing that you learned from life of a soldier.
Selflessness.
One film you wish you had directed or acted in.
That I directed or acted in? Oh God, this is difficult, yeah.
Are they too many or too few?
Diwar.
Diwar. All right. Mic, camera or pen? What would you choose for life? I did put you on spot.
This is a tough one. Pen probably.
Pen. Yeah. Wonderful. That comes from your father. Dil Chahta Hai or Dawn?
Dil Chahta.
All right. Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara or Gully Boy?
Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
All right. One thing every man should know about feminism.
That you can be a feminist.
All right, wonderful. That's a great message that you are bringing for the entire audience and the people. But I'll end with Ritesh. You know, Ritesh, you're doing a public viewing that is happening for the first time, a paid preview public viewing. What's the entire idea behind it? Because perhaps it's happening for the first time.
Yeah. So I think we were all, you know, thinking it's also happens to be the anniversary of the battle, right? And we thought, what better way of this story, which has been untold, bring it on that day, let people experience it. And like we said, we are pretty confident. You've seen the film, a lot of people, and it's been very encouraging. So I think if we put it out there in front of the audience and let genuinely the audience which goes to cinemas. So it's not people we are inviting, it's not our friends, it's not our screenings are all happening on Thursday. So I think it was just an opportunity to let the audience first experience the film before anybody else who are genuinely going to cinemas. So that's the hope of doing it, and hopefully they'll all have the same experience like you did.
We hope so too. Any final word that you have, Farhan, for the audience and on the anniversary of the Battle of Rezang?
No, I mean, I would just like to say that it's really, I just want to firstly thank Rezi, and I want to just say to the audiences who are watching that please do go for the reason of knowing what happened on the 18th of November. I mean, usually, you say, "Jaake meri picture dekhiye," but it's not really meri picture or our picture. This film belongs to India, it belongs to the audiences. So I really would appreciate it. I mean, if you went with your friends and family, because we owe it to Shaitanji and we owe it to the 120 Bahadur who fought this battle.
And if I haven't put you in spot enough, may I ask you to recite a few lines, if you can, from your poetry or from your songs or from Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, anything that you would like.
sure I can do the end poem of Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara if you want.
Absolutely.
दिलों में तुम अपनी बेताबियां लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम, नज़र में ख्वाबों की बिजलियां लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम, हवा के झोंकों के जैसे आज़ाद रहना सीखो, तुम एक दरिया के जैसे लहरों में बहना सीखो, हर एक लम्हे से तुम मिलो खोले अपनी बाहें, हर एक पल एक नया समा देखिए निगाहें, जो अपनी आँखों में हैरानियाँ लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम, दिलों में तुम अपनी बेताबियां लेके चल रहे हो तो जिंदा हो तुम.
Wow, I have goosebumps. Amazing, 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 Farhan. As always, the superstar, the so humble and ground to earth person. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you so
all
much,
three of
Farhan.
you, and best wishes for this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's a pleasure.